Tropical Storm Podul forms and is the next Pacific typhoon threat on tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for August 8th. So a relatively busy tropics with several systems active around the world, including, if you can see it there, the Southwest Indian Ocean had its first named storm yesterday, Awo, and is already down to a tropical depression, as well as two Eastern Pacific storms today as well. Very busy. 53 storms so far this year around the world. In the Atlantic, we've had 4 of those on day 68 of hurricane season this year. We've got, of course, what's left of Dexter moving off over the North Atlantic, and 3 areas of interest in its wake, including a moderate chance there, the current system that's active, a tropical wave in the mid-Atlantic. In the Eastern Pacific, we've got those 2 tropical storms active right now. Henriette, which is not looking so good right now across the Eastern Pacific towards the Central Pacific, and Ivo, which is a very compact system tightening up just off the coast of Mexico. In the Western Pacific, Tropical Storm Podul formed earlier on, not long ago at all actually, and is now heading slowly towards the west, clipping the northernmost of the Mariana Islands. Could strengthen substantially, but models are all over the place on whether it actually will or not. North Indian Ocean looking very quiet indeed, although there is a little area of thunderstorms there off the coast of West Bengal and Odisha, possibly about to move inland, so more heavy rainfall for that area today. And in the Southwest Indian Ocean, the big surprise really, and by the way, it is the second storm to have formed in the off-season in the Southwest Indian Ocean. That's half of the Atlantic list so far this year. Awo there down to tropical depression status, 35 miles per hour, gradually moving westwards, could affect the Seychelles. In the Australian region, no areas of interest active at this point, as you would fully expect. There's a weak frontal system there off Western Australia, and off the east coast there's some general cloud cover there as well. So let's take a closer look then at the latest storm, Podul. 40 mile per hour winds, pressure 1004 millibars, 19.4 north, 145 degrees east as of 10 a.m. Chamorro Standard Time this August 8th. Currently located 51 kilometers from the island of Asuncion, 74 from Morgue, 94 from Agrihan, 160 from Pagan, and 641 from Guam. Moving away from all of those locations, will eventually trawl across the Western Pacific, and looks like it's going to head towards Taiwan or possibly the eastern coast of China. Checking in on Ivo then, and 50 miles per hour is what we're giving it right now. National Hurricane Center a bit more bullish on that, 60 is their estimate. Pressure 998 on our count, 19.3 north, 106 degrees west as of 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time this August 7th. It is 100 kilometers from Jose Maria Morelos, 136 from Milake, 178 from Puerto Vallarta, 443 from Mazatlan, and 574 from Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. The storm is currently moving towards the west-northwest and will continue in that direction. National Hurricane Center think it will reach hurricane status. Lots of satellite imagery to show you tonight. First of all, looking at a wide shot of the Atlantic, you can see what's left of Dexter at the top of the screen there, and just at the very bottom squeaking in that Invest, which has been tagged 96L with a moderate chance of development. Eastern Pacific, you can see both of those named storms active right there. Henriette not looking so hot, moving westwards, and Ivo quite a mess itself really. We'll take a proper look at those in a second, but first of all, this is the new storm Podul, which is just about moving through the Northern Mariana Islands right now. You can see it there, partly exposed, mainly due to wind shear. You can see it all there on the northern side, really crushing those cloud tops and confining them to the southern side of the storm mostly, and that's throwing it a big cloud shield well over a lot of those islands actually. Most of those are uninhabited or very sparsely populated, so really very few areas of populations are being hit by storm force winds right now. Well, this is Ivo, and I'm not that impressed with it right now, but there it is. A tight core on it, which is what the National Hurricane Center have been pointing out. ASCAT was on there earlier, caught 45 knot winds. Moving towards the west-northwest. And as it does pull away from Mexico, it may well strengthen a little bit further, and it could make a run for hurricane status. Stranger things have happened in that area. Now this is Awo, that storm in the southwest Indian Ocean. Satellite imagery isn't quite so good here. You can see as well it's been mostly exposed for the best part of the last 24 hours, this imagery is showing, and throwing up bits of convection in fits and starts there, and in the last few frames started losing it a little bit more, and it certainly looks like it's lost a bit of its intensity. Of course, it didn't have that much to begin with, 40 mile per hour peak. And this is Henriette, which is not looking very good either, although still in the future it still might have more of a chance as it gets back towards warmer sea surface temperatures when it reaches the same longitude as Hawaii, although it will pass well towards the north. But water vapor imagery and Zare imagery here really looking quite pitiful, it has to be said. Very little convection blowing up near the center, although there is still just that little bit token amount to keep it a tropical cyclone. This is what's left of Dexter. We didn't manage to cover the storm whilst it was active on the channel, but there it is, the poor thing. It's gone over the North Atlantic at this time. The remnants may pass north of the Azores, might head towards Europe, maybe if there's anything left of it. And this is Invest 96L, not looking that great either, it has to be said, and confidence, I think, certainly I feel, is decreasing a little bit on this system, and you'll see on the models later on that there could be something behind it that might end up being favoured. And this is the Western Pacific, another system, 96W, to the west of the Philippines into the South China Sea. Not looking too bad, it has to be said. Throwing up decent amounts of convection, wind sheared as well. Gradually moving westwards away from the Philippines. It doesn't look like it will develop, but you never know in that area. Things can form out of almost thin air. Now, looking off the US East Coast, there's quite a fair bit of cloud cover. We are looking for that potential next system that could be spawning in a similar place to where Dexter was a couple of days ago. So keep looking out for that area. Caribbean looking pretty quiet. Open Atlantic here, you can see, of course, that Invest is the centerpiece of that. Onto the roll to the right-hand side, there's a little bit of convection there as well. Maybe another tropical wave starting to appear, but not much to it. Now there's those two storms in the Eastern Pacific again, similar viewpoint as to what we were looking at earlier. Henriette getting quite close to the Central Pacific now, and Podal there on the right hand side, the very far right of the image there, just about entering the shot, moving into the Philippine Sea, and of course that other system off to the west, which we also pointed out. Bay of Bengal throwing up huge amounts of convection and monsoonal rain showers all over India, even stretching into the Himalayas as well and parts of Nepal. A very large system there. This is Awo as well, looking rather small on this image, although it is very much zoomed out, looking across the whole southwest Indian Ocean there. Towards the Australian region, again that frontal system brushing into Western Australia right now, and some rain showers pushing through southern Queensland and northern New South Wales. And there's a little cyclonic system down there as well, northeast of New Zealand, moving towards the east. Doesn't look like that's a tropical cyclone though. Sea surface temperatures are piping hot and getting warmer in the Atlantic. A little bit of a cool spot further east across the eastern Atlantic, but look west, really warm off Florida, the peninsula, over 32 degrees Celsius possibly in one or two spots. Eastern Pacific similarly so off the coast of Mexico, very warm SSTs. You can see why Henriette is struggling, however, but it will really warm up once it gets near Hawaii. Western Pacific looking very good across the board as well. A significant cool pool after Crosa though, and the other storms that have happened recently. But where Podal is right now, it's just about entering a good ridge there of 30 degrees Celsius waters and higher. Bay of Bengal, even higher than that, 31 degrees Celsius possibly. Arabian Sea got some catching up to do, however. That is pretty normal though for this time of year. So these are the sea surface temperature anomalies, which really tell us how we're doing in comparison to what we would be normally seeing. Blue areas below average, red areas well above average there. The Atlantic in general is really starting to soar in terms of its sea surface temperatures. Eastern Pacific is a half and half picture still here as well, has been all season so far, but the hot spot is off the coast of Mexico where those systems are benefiting. Western Pacific, a little bit half and half as well, but in the subtropics it's really looking good. That's possibly why we've had a few of those systems progress beyond Japan recently. Oceanic heat content as well looking very good in the Philippine Sea, as you would expect though, but once again the system Podal is going to be right in the northern edge of that, but if systems form further south then they're really in for a good time. The Atlantic, Caribbean looking pretty good through the Lucayan archipelago as well, and off the coast of Florida also looking rather good there for oceanic heat content, and into the Gulf of Mexico in various spots. Let's check the latest computer models then. Dexter fading off into oblivion up there in the far North Atlantic. You can just about see that Invest 96L across the middle of the screen, and then on the later part of this 5-day run, this next system starting to pop up near Cape Verde, moving off towards the west, just circling 96L here. That's its progress moving off out of the circle now towards the northwest. Will it have a chance later on? Possibly. And then that next system really starting to cut in there. And now the Eastern Pacific storms. So Ivo, quite close run thing, but it is now moving away from land, and so it will not be causing any storm conditions, but it will linger for a little while longer. However, Henriette will outlive it as it continues towards the north, benefiting from those warmer waters north of Hawaii. As I mentioned, we saw it on the sea surface temperature charts as well. 26, maybe 27 degrees Celsius will actually be enough, according to the GFS model, to briefly get it to hurricane status as it starts to pull northwards, really far northwards, well away from Hawaii. Western Pacific looking at Podal, moving towards the west, starting to get itself better organized a little bit. I'm surprised to see what happened here, because earlier GFS models 12 hours ago was calling for a major typhoon, now only calling for a tropical storm. And what's more is that other models also followed this kind of trend. They were all calling for substantial storms, most of them, but now all of the global models have really dropped back. The hurricane models are still at possibly major typhoon status, so keep an eye on this. It could defy all those models and they'll look really silly as they jump back on and really strengthen it again. It could still happen. Taiwan will be the most vulnerable place, possibly the Japanese Ryukyu Islands and maybe eastern China. As it stands right now though, rainfall expectations not that high. Taiwan getting the largest, southern Taiwan getting up to 6 inches, 150 millimeters. Incidentally, double that in parts of Japan, getting some real frontal action there, and parts of South Korea as well, getting up to 300 millimeters of rainfall in the next 7 days. In the moderate range then, this is day 5 to 10, looking out at the Atlantic. 96L does form in the end according to the GFS model, although not many other models back that at the moment. It gets really sloppy as it gets towards Newfoundland and off towards the northeast. Then look what happens down in the main development region, that next system, and also a third system there moving through the Yucatan Peninsula very briefly, and then dying off in the Gulf as it gets towards the coast of Mexico. But look at this really substantial hurricane there approaching Lesser Antilles, major hurricane status, just passing the northern part of the Leeward Islands. And then Henriette continues on, really gets very far north before turning post-tropical and giving Alaska a bit of a battering in the longer range there. That is around 2 weeks from now, or no, it's less than that, I'm sorry, about just over a week from now, moving off towards the north and then curving eastwards. So certainly the Atlantic, I imagine, will be the talking point for the longer range there. In the meantime, scan the barcode and that will take you through to the 413 merch store, where you can take a look at all our products as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request. Also check out all of our platforms too through our Linktree page. They're all conveniently placed on there so you don't get lost. And in the fantasy range then, this is fantasy range. I really gotta point out that this is very far-fetched and very long way out. A huge hurricane there off the coast of the Bahamas, moving on towards the northwest, and where does it end up? Well, on the border between North and South Carolina as a really formidable major hurricane landfall there, and that is nearly 60, that's about 15 days out. Look how large that hurricane is. Very powerful, at least category 4, weakens a little bit before landfall, probably giving a lot of people Hugo vibes. So that's a very long way out, could change at the drop of a hat. Keep watching that very, 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 very closely. August 8th, 1964 was the turn of Typhoon Ida, which slammed into Hong Kong on this day after reaching Category 5 status a couple of days before that. There's some imagery from Hong Kong from significant landslides that occurred in the region from the storm. We also had Tropical Storm Awo making landfall in Texas, Tropical Storm Brenda forming off the coast not far from Bermuda, and what was left of 2L, which was a hurricane, and by this point was traipsing across southern Scotland towards the southeast into the North Sea as a post-tropical remnant. Well, back in the Atlantic, the next name on the naming list now is Erin. In the Eastern Pacific, it's Juliet. And in the Central Pacific, it's Lala. Yes, if you've not seen what happened, you missed 2 storms in the Central Pacific, possibly. One was a major hurricane. In the Western Pacific, the next name now is Ling Ling. And in the North Indian Ocean, it will be Shakti. Code blue right now, and ironically it's for Alaska, for the remnants of Tropical Storm Bailu. None of the other systems have reached code blue at this time. The Australian region, the next name is Fina. The Southwest Indian Ocean, now the next name is Blossom. And in the South Pacific, it will be Ermil. What a packed tropical weather bulletin that was. Hopefully we'll be back to normal service pretty soon. That's all for now.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.